Yeah, I think he's just hinting at the idea of bringing his rook forward. As you mentioned, Tanya, black does have some counterplay, very long-range counterplay against the white king. So not entirely clear how much Vincent is threatening, but Magnus looking a bit uncomfortable on the camera. Suddenly, I mean, he was slouched, right, Magnus Carlsen? I love the previous angle we had, and then suddenly he's kind of perked up, straight back, trying to find the best defense for black.
I will just say, just a funny note, everybody has around 6 minutes left. Like Vincent has 1, Magnus has 6. Gukesh and Hikaru are like 3 versus 7, you know, 5 for 3 in the other game, and then Nodirbek has 1 and Firouzja has 16. Like he's obviously just played like he has a flight to catch this game, and it served him well. I mean, it's one of the strategies in classical chess just to play really fast. If you have the nervous system, you don't feel like you're going to make a mistake. You can play like that, and it really sucks to play 1 versus 16. Well, David's like a pro and wins many of those games.
But normally I have a time control to look forward to at move 40, where I know I'll get more time. But these players are in time trouble now till the death. 1 minute against 5. And counting now for Magnus Carlsen.
This feels tremendously difficult. It just doesn't feel like any of black pieces can move.
What to do?
Taking from James' idea earlier, I think that's still possible, right? Because I'm looking at Magnus's knight on the center of the board. It can also land further closer to the white rooks. It needs the pawn to defend it. Can Magnus be thinking about pushing that g-pawn still ahead and get that knight on that square before the white rook marches up? It's on the board, and apparently it's not a great move. As we see the bar, it shoots up.
Is it?
It's just too late? Is that the idea?
Rook f7 or is it rook f8? Like, which one is it? It's probably rook f7. That looks like very natural. But
whatever it is, will Vincent find it in less than a minute?
Well, if it's that move, yes. But is it the move, David?
It is by far the best move. This is a one-time offer for Vincent Keymer before the black knight jumps in and blocks the white rooks. So he needs to bring his rook in. But calculation is needed because the black queen's going to come down and grab a pawn, threaten a checkmate on the second rank.
Oh.
You don't spot it because it's so difficult to give up that pawn.
Yeah. And he had to spot it and then maybe knight back. Like, what was the defense?
Yeah, maybe we just jump in and show it. This was a missed opportunity by Vincent Keymer. Very likely now that black is able to dodge the worst that could have awaited him there. If we just quickly show it on the board, Vincent should have brought his rook forward to the 7th rank, allowed this queen to capture on the 2nd, and he actually uses his other rook. The second rook now steps up, hits the black queen, defends, and when she retreats, only then does he come in and capture. And this is all based on the fact that there might be sacrifices against the black king. For example, if the black queen moves, whoops, there would have been checkmating ideas. And this was not so easy to foresee or judge in advance.
Oh, and if the queen even went to g1, attacking on f2, you can just take the pawn, right?
Show that.
So there you can still play rook c7 because the threat is rook b7. Wow, that's really nasty. Wow. Yeah, he had to have seen this whole sequence.
With 1 minute.
Yeah.
Not easy. But instead he stepped back with his queen, so still on the cards. He still wants to bring his rook into the 7th rank. Now he's defending the pawn near his king with his own queen.
But whereas Vincent was given that one-time opportunity, right, to slide his rook in, now Magnus is maybe given an opportunity to find a way to defend against it. Jump that knight in.
It's not easy to play that move because you block white's ideas, but you allow the white knight to continue forward. Also, you can still sacrifice, just hypothetically speaking. Like, it's still there. Yeah, this is crazy. Magnus below 4 minutes. This is... really epic moments here, late game.
Yeah. And I think very critical ones as well, right? This is why we're talking about how important time management is. If Vincent just had a few extra minutes on the clock, he would have sat down, calculated that line through, at his level, worked it out as well. A huge chance of that, a missed opportunity. And right now, I think what's going on in Magnus's mind is, can he actually bring that knight and block that idea forever? Can he deal with Vincent's knight jump? Because that comes with its own consequences. I want to highlight that central e-pawn in Vincent's king's position, which right now is defended by the knight. That g-pawn moving forward has opened the path for the black queen to get to it. So there's a lot of calculation required here for the world number one as well. Can black get to that pawn once the knight starts attacking the black rook?
Ooh, big complications. Let's just quickly show that to try and get inside the head of Magnus Carlsen. He wants to block the white rooks, of course. Then the white knight will jump in, hitting the black rook. And now he's trying to work out whether he can ignore that. Queen takes pawn, as Tanya mentions. Knight takes rook now would be met by a capture. And next move, the white knight falls. And this time it will be Magnus sacrificing the rook.
2 pawns and a knight for a
It's
rook.
still on the cards, right?
Yeah, well, that one we don't yell because it's a defensive sacrifice. But, you know, if it's an offensive one...
Step one. Oh, but denied.
Yeah, rook g2. I mean, Vincent needed to play a move fast. I think he wanted to get a little bit of momentum back. And now maybe black is very slightly better.
Yeah, this is turning, but there's still traps all over the place. This pawn kind of attacked by one of white's rooks, but he should not get greedy now. Magnus Carlsen take this lone pawn on the edge of the board with his knight, because he would walk into a pin. The white rook would slide across and tie down that white knight, that black knight to the black queen.
We'll just say Firouzja versus Nodirbek ended in a draw. We don't need to pull that up. That would be deranged. With 2 and 1 minutes on the clock here, but that is the first official result of the round. The matchup for 5th through 8th place, that one ended in a draw.
The position we have, the clock situation, I think massive twists and turns ahead lie in this one. You know, I think we're in for a blunder coming up soon by one of these two players. Just, it's such a dangerous position with both the kings sort of under attack. The knights, the way they're placed, and right now Magnus just defends that very key pawn, making sure.
I still feel like only white can win. Like, I don't understand how black...
You've been loving white from the very start.
Yeah, but like black has a weakness on e5. Black has like g4 and h2 are sort of interchangeable, and white's king is like fine, you know, and white's knight is fantastic, right? Like, it's actually playing a role of attacking the king, whereas the black knight is desperately defending the position. Yeah, the only way this works is that if Vincent makes a horrendous blunder somehow in time trouble, but like, I don't know. I think Magnus also has to sort of sense he can't over-push here. Like, he's still defending. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What do you think?
We're asking so much of these players with so little time to play to perfection.
Yeah.
I still think black is defending, like, more than attacking.
Yeah, I completely agree. If the players had more time on the clock, I just don't really see where the blunder will come from either side in the near future. I mean, just talking about the pieces as well, Levy, you mentioned the pawns kind of balancing each other out on the king side. The black knight kind of neutralizes the white rooks. This white knight neutralizes the black rook on the other flank. Kings, it's not clear whose is weaker. Yeah, it just feels very balanced, but it does also feel like the type of game where there have been missed opportunities. There have been so many tricks lurking under the surface that eventually one of them is going to come out to the fore. A question mark there from Magnus. I'm very surprised by that move. I'm not sure what he should have played instead, but now white can step a pawn forward and prevent the black rook from ever coming back where it came from.
Yeah, and you have to ask yourself, do I want to play that pawn push? Because, you know, it's surrendering the square to the knight. Like, the knight now goes on this little carousel of, you know, jumping through these 3 squares. It feels right, but it's so hard to play with a minute because you don't want to give anything up to your opponent square-wise. And Keymer in the 120s now, right? Yeah. So this is how a normal chess game goes.
Heart rate's
not from
climbing.
Magnus.
The pressure of the moment speaks to that. The other thing too is just all these ideas of the, you know, the attackable pieces here in the black position. So I'm looking at a couple of the squares that we had previously talked about the white knight going to, either like e6, putting pressure on that pawn again on the c file, or maybe even dropping it back to like d3 and targeting that central pawn again. Won't be the case though. It's going to be a queen move.
Not yet, but he's setting it up. Firstly, there's a threat against the black king. If the black king moves, then the white knight is free to start jumping. He also had to defend his central pawn. The white knight was doing that job, so he's relieving the white knight of its duties, and only then will he jump once Magnus solves the tension on this diagonal. Crafty move. I like it from Vincent.
And just so the audience knows, you can't repeat moves here. You cannot move the rook to play defense. You will lose in spectacular fashion because the pawn move will attack the rook. Yeah, this is so stressful. And Magnus approaching Vincent on time for the first time in a long time. I'm trying to see how many times I could say the word time in multiple sentences.
One more time.
Yes, one more time.
Yeah, the clock's leveling out. It's getting very, very dangerous, right? Because if you sidestep this attack by moving your king away, the knight can also jump further into the game, and then suddenly you realize that Magnus's knight does not have the scope to come back to the central square, because that's going to be guarded by the white knight and the queen. It's getting very tricky, and the rooks can slide over. Once the knight gets there, the rook comes over to the c line, starts attacking c7. This is pressure on. This is not going to be easy for the world number one to defend.
Yeah, time is level. Both sides at 1 minute. It's a bullet game with a little bit of an increment.
And nobody feels comfortable here. I mean...
Predictions. What happens in this one, Levy? Magnus win, Vincent win, draw.
It's very tough to say. I'd like to think Magnus will just defend himself, just be safe, not over push. So I'll say draw.
I'll say Vincent.
I'll say Vincent.
Yeah.
What's the logic? But he's stepping out of the discovered chess.
I love how James just dodged the whole prediction game and goes like, hey,
I'm trying to understand the game of chess over here.
I mean, if Vincent wins this game, it'll straight up be one of the best games he's like straight up ever played, like in his entire career. Like he has been so on top of the ideas of the position, but and like holding the nerves too, because he's approaching 130. When you can feel your heartbeat in your throat, like that is not a feeling that is conducive to making really good moves, because he senses something is there.
I mean, Vincent's precision has happened from move one, right? Finding the best move number one against the world number one at the very start, working it all out, and then these little moves across the middle game, setting up the attack, getting the king to safety at the right time. And Vincent's knight now does land on that square. The rook's looking to dash over to join the party to get into that c7 point that we were earlier highlighting. David, Magnus's troubles continue. Very tough to defend.
Yeah, Magnus with his back against the wall. This is pretty serious stuff. And Vincent wasn't super impressive in the round robin, I'll say. Time trouble isn't necessarily his forte, but his moves are so natural. Magnus's moves are so difficult. That is the main problem for the world number one right now. Defending under time pressure is so much harder than attacking, and Magnus looking visibly uncomfortable on the camera a moment ago.
Well, we're about to find out if age is catching up to both of the top players in the world who have talked about not making critical decisions and time trouble. C6 on the board, and it's a big mistake. It's a double question mark blunder for Magnus Carlsen.
Wow, and this is so difficult now for Vincent Keymer. I do see that the engine suggests two queen moves. Vincent looking confused there by this pawn push from Magnus. He's about to move his queen, but there's several tempting squares for him.
I think he looked up, and I think he knows what he has to do.
Wow, that's the best move.
The right square.
Yes, that's the best move.
Wow.
It's giving it a miss, but it's not deep enough. It was either queen a3 or queen b6.
Changes to an exclamation.
I mean, come on. It rethought about it, and this is what we have to say.
150.
150.
He knows he's on the verge of doing it.
Oh my gosh! And Magnus has been at 99. Like, this is why he's so good, because he knows he's under pressure, but.
Yeah, one of the biggest wins of his life, this will be. Vincent gets the job done.
Don't. No commentators jinx. Oh, queen e7. Oh, queen e7, rook takes. Oh, Magnus, he missed this move.
Look at him. He's getting very, very stressed on the camera there. Magnus reacting to the pressure. He gives up big material.
Wow, he has sacrificed the rook to defend himself.
It's your moment, Levy.
No. This is like desperation mode.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, Vincent is completely winning.
So instead of my rook, it's my rook.
Yeah.
It's a sad my rook for sure.
Wow. I mean,
10 seconds on the clock here for Magnus. After giving away that material, he still knows he's in a very dire position. 5 seconds to make a choice.
You gotta move.
It feels impossible.
3, 2.
Make a move.
He makes a move.
Oh, with 1 second on
at
the
the
clock.
final second.
Oh my goodness.
But Magnus is just dropping a pawn. The white rooks now are finally going to come to life. And Magnus
Wow, he's
resigns.
Gives up.
Vincent Keymer just won the game of his life.
Up 1-0. 8th and final seed into the semifinals, and he takes down the world #1 in game 1 of the semifinals.
You guys called it. I mean, the pressure just built up too much. Magnus had to sit and wait. That's what I predicted he would do. But he tried to lash out with c6, and that was just wrong.
You know, they say against a top grandmaster, you need to win a game 3 times. Once in the opening, once in the middle game, once in the end game. When you're playing against Magnus Carlsen, you need to beat him on every single move. And that's what Vincent did today. His level of precision.
Incredible display of chess from Vincent Keymer, putting himself in glorious position heading into the second day of the semifinals up against Magnus Carlsen. Just keeping our cameras on him to see how he reacts. I mean, honestly, playing it off fairly calm, cool.